everybody, it's Safi and Marco, dish out on the movies. But today we're doing a little bit of a delayed review of American Horror Story Season 11. And of course, like last week, and I guess it will be a thing for every week, they did 2 episodes.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been delayed if it was just 1 episode. So
it's, let's see, episode 3 and episode 4.
And the thing is that that's another red flag that, this season's trash. They know it's trash is because they're dropping 2 episodes a week. Like last year, we never would have been able to have the good conversations that we had about that season if we were doing 2 episodes a week. It's very, very indicative that they do not like the season either, or they're just really bad at and they didn't even market this season. That's another thing we didn't talk about. There was no marketing basically, because this show, this season is really bad. These episodes 3 and 4, there's some good stuff in them. There's some really great ideas, but overall it's just really terrible and mediocre, and it just feels like such a downgrade.
And it goes into different levels too, because we were talking about the setting. Now, we did mention this a little bit. It's like one street in New York City.
Yeah.
It must be anybody who's ever, you know what New York City is like on New Year's Eve, because it's always on TV, right? Well, you know that New York City is alive and awake all night long. There's people getting food, going to the bars, and who knows what else, but this is this quiet, it's like a small town street. It isn't like New York City street, and it's like one street. That's it.
Oh yeah.
They never show any diversity in background.
Yeah.
It's quiet. There's hardly anybody out.
You could say with that, shooting in New York City is very expensive. So you really can't blame them for that, but it's just really, it's really weird because it's like this whole show is about gays, but it's like that's not all of New York.
No, New York is such a diverse place.
It feels like it shouldn't have been called New York City. It should have been called whatever street that they're on every single episode, or something more specific. Like in the first season, they called it Murder House because it was a murder house. Mm-hmm. Second season, they call it Asylum because it is a fucking asylum. And they should have done the same thing with this, because by calling it New York City, they're almost implying that New York City is the gay capital of the world, which is just not true in any shape or form.
Yeah, I don't believe it.
But the really bad thing is just the show is bad. These episodes were not very good. As I said, there were some great ideas, there were some good moments, and I didn't hate it as much as Chucky, where in Chucky it was just a very confusing, weird disaster. The casting was terrible. At least with this, you could kind of laugh at it and just after watching those first 2 episodes, you know what it's going to be like. You know that you're going to see some cringy stuff. You're going to see these gross kind of sex scenes where they're just these just really unnecessary. They're not even in season 1 they had those sex scenes because then what would happen was the Leatherman would come in and switch places, and then of course he impregnated her, and that was part of the story. But with this, it's just indulgence because the creator is gay. So it's he wants to show all this stuff because he likes it, and because he wants to show it, and all the other stuff that he likes too. That's what it feels like. It doesn't feel like it's really part of the story in most cases. I guess the only exception would be the leather scene with the stupid police guy where he follows that leather guy and then he starts having sex with him. Like, that was very... I guess that was necessary, but other than that, the other stuff was just like, ugh. Especially when the guy from last season, when we got to see him naked. Ugh.
You got to see his rear end and put him on his underwear.
Safi, wake up.
Well, I'm not asleep. I'm trying to think. I'm just like, do I want to even remember what was in the episode?
Yeah, remember that?
Episodes.
Remember when you saw that and were you like this? Ew! Were you like that?
Oh boy. Well, he's so tall. There's a couple.
Yeah.
There's a few tall people in this episode. I mean, they are extremely tall. And this guy's. I mean, I didn't realize that last season, but this season, he is extremely tall, and he was with this boy who has the one who's not engaged in any of that. He's actually remained attached. Now, he let himself go with this guy.
It's because he's getting into a relationship with him, Safi.
Well, I know they're getting into a relationship, whatever that means, in this world of having multiple sex partners. It's just weird to me. And I did go back and I looked at the history because I have to keep reminding myself, but it doesn't matter. The street would be busy. We saw what was the name of that? Midnight Cowboy? And that was supposed to be way back. Well, it wasn't 70s, it was 60s maybe. And the streets were in New York, and there were gay people there too in the movie, and that was actually part of the story a little bit.
Well, a lot of them.
And that wasn't a quiet street, and that was an older movie. And, you know, it had Dustin Hoffman, and I could think of the guy before he has blonde hair.
The other guy.
The guy that liked to wear a cowboy hat.
The guy that wasn't as good as Dustin Hoffman in that movie. That's the guy. Okay, moving on. So anyways, this show, where do we begin?
Well, there are two episodes, so I guess the first episode...
Smoke signals.
Smoke signals.
Well, first off, they're trying these red herrings that don't really do anything for me. Like, you have one red herring where the police guy is really into leather, and
that was a big secret.
He's cheating, and he's having sex with like 1 million men or something, and
I don't get it. And that's what got themselves into trouble.
Yeah.
With AIDS.
And so, like, I really don't know what the point of that is at all. And then also you have, what was the other thing?
Well, they made a big to-do out of it, didn't they? Like his ex-wife, or soon-to-be ex-wife, brought in, some kind of leather thing, and showed it to the reporter guy who's his, quote, boyfriend. Yeah,
they're making it seem like he could be a killer or something.
Well, that's
it's really
what I was
weird.
thinking, and I'm like, that's not possible, because he was attacked. Because remember, he went to Central Park with his partner, his police partner, and because he got a bad phone call at the station, and that they warned him and said the bad person, the one who's killing everybody, it was him. And he said, well, something about Central Park. And so they ran lickety-split to Central Park, and he got attacked. And actually his friend, who, the straight guy, has nothing to do with gays at all. I mean, nothing. He was just there because he's his partner. I guess he was waiting in the car for him, so he didn't get attacked. But anyway, that's not possible. But that's what it implied when it was happening. His wife was showing him this leather stuff, and I think, oh my God, did they think that he's the killer? She thinks he's the killer?
That's what they're acting like. And then the second red herring, which is also very ineffective, is the one with the I think probably one of the greatest actors of the of the show, Zachary Quinto.
Oh, yeah. He's really good.
You know, he was so perfect in seasons 1 and 2. He was definitely a highlight of those seasons. And I didn't even know that this was like his return. And it's too bad because he's such a good actor.
He loves to do it.
I really don't think that his character is very good because he's literally just red herring character. He's sleazy. He likes to abuse his power. He likes to make all these actors who want to be models have sex with him, and
he's like a womanizer, only he's a manizer.
yeah, he's
weird.
He's weird, and as Safi just said. But the thing is that they have this like sub story where he has like this domination like fantasy that he just can't turn off, and so he calls people like the killer, and he gets them into his place, and then he locks them up in a dungeon and beats them up and abuses them, and probably, I don't know what else. Very, very bizarre. Well, this one guy escapes, and then he goes to the police, and it's like, ooh, he could be the bad guy too.
Yeah.
And it's like, but he's not.
No.
So,
he's not.
I just really don't know the point. Like, I guess I could say, and you know what else they're doing too, is that, you know, he was a similar character in season 2, where he had that. Safi, you watched that season.
But I don't remember.
Oh my God, Safi.
I'm sorry. I put those things on the shelf and I put it away and I forget about it.
Oh, did you put anything on a shelf today? No. Okay. So, but they're playing on that. Zachary Quinto in season 2. He had that basement torture chamber. He had where he kills people in the basement. And then, of course, he ties up Crybaby. And he rapes her and everything. And it's like, wah, wah, wah. I'm Crybaby. And she's not in this season.
No.
Which is weird because she is gay. And so she would have been perfect for the season.
It's only for the boys, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. There's like... and the creator is a boy. So, That's why. So, they're kind of like playing off that, and it's like, ooh, he could be a bad guy, he could be a killer, and it's like, he's not intimidating in this season, because it's like, you know he's not the killer, there's no mystery to it at all, a lot of the stuff could have been scary, but it's just not, and that's one of them, and I really think the biggest point to make about both episodes is that, you know, we've talked a lot about agendas, but really, Safi, let's pretend that we make these characters into straight couples. Let's gender swap these characters like they like to do all the time now. Let's turn Zachary. Let's make him straight, and then let's make the photographer, Theo, let's make him a girl. And then let's make that other guy from Teen Wolf, you know, a guy as well. And with this whole love triangle thing that's going on, where you have, like, the guy who, you know, he wants the other guy, and so he's telling the other guy to leave him alone, and all this BS and like manipulation. Mm-hmm. If that was a straight couple, and if that was a story with straight people, it would still be just as trash as it is right now with these gay characters. Like, that story is really, really bad. I don't know why you have it on Hot Safi. That's really weird. So there's like a love triangle thing going on, and
That's
then
weird.
What'd you think about that?
I just was surprised because the little guy.
The little guy?
I call him the little guy, the one that you saw on Teen Wolf, that actor.
The little guy.
He has been staying out of everything like that and compromising. And because he wanted to find out what happened to his roommate.
Safi, he's got muscles.
Well, kind of. He has to, because all those other people are so big.
Little guy?
Yeah, he's the little guy. That's what I call him. But anyway, he's been staying out of it. Now, this episode, or these 2 episodes, I don't think he even mentioned his roommate.
Yeah, it's like the roommate isn't important anymore. It's just working at the newspaper with the other shitty actor. Now, the worst actor of the season, Gino, who, he is so bad, Safi, but it's like a mixed thing where it's really hilarious watching him because he's just so bad. He's kind of reminiscent of that guy in Halloween H2O. Remember the boyfriend of Jamie Lee Curtis?
Yeah.
He's kind of like him in a way. And he has a couple of really funny moments in these 2 episodes. But he's continuing to have this girly, caricature, stereotype relationship problem story with the police guy, where you see them in their apartment together.
And they have no chemistry, by the way.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to say you're discriminating against gays, then you're going to treat them like a regular couple, right? And they do not have any chemistry as a couple.
Yeah, they're kind of like friends or something, or they're like roommates.
Yeah, but they're supposed to be a couple, but they have no chemistry.
No, not at all.
They are so totally apart in every sense of the word. And so if you're gonna do these gay storylines, no matter whether they're supernatural or crime,
gays.
I'm waiting for the supernatural part that comes along with this particular series. But if you're going to make a storyline with gays and they have a relationship where eventually they might get married, then they really ought to have chemistry, don't you think? But I think another thing, though, I did research and because I remember it, but I wanted to refresh myself about this whole history of AIDS and like the timeline of coming to America and all that. And I think that guy at the newspaper is supposed to be Larry Kramer.
Didn't you already talk about that?
No, with you. And because he looks, if you find a picture of Larry Kramer, I just saw a drawing of him, it looks exactly like him. The beard, the hair, everything looks exactly like him.
Anyways.
So, I don't know if they're doing a little bit of that in the show or not, because
probably, Safi. Anyways.
Whatever.
They have this really queer romance problem story going on where they sit in the apartment and they talk and it's
they
like,
don't go anywhere.
You're not open with people, you're not being truthful. When are you gonna be yourself? When are you gonna come out? When are you gonna do all these things I want you to do? And it's like the stereotypical, like, gay story where you have a closeted gay that won't come out, and then you have the other gay who's like, when are you gonna do that? When are you gonna do that? And that's what he's like. Like, that's his acting. And
yeah, and then when he does come out, which is in the next episode, to his boss,
he doesn't care.
The guy doesn't act like he cares after he went on and on about it.
He's like, no.
What the hell?
There are problems here. You only do the truth when it's convenient for you. The real truth is that you are ashamed. You are shamed. And this apartment is full of shame. And I'm suffocating. And he starts like,
what's going on with him? And Marco says he's got a heart attack.
He was having some sort
he
of
was having a heart attack.
A heart attack or something.
Oh my God.
And he's like, ugh.
And then when he's at the hospital, he wakes up, he goes, oh my God, I'm covered in a rash. Like, what? And then that's why I decided to look up the whole AIDS crisis, because I don't remember anything about a rash. And I'm sorry if I'm wrong or I'm mistaken. And when I looked up and did the research, I did not see anything about any rash. So I don't know what that's about.
But and I just wanted to say this as well. If you replaced him with a girl and you made it a straight couple, and it was the same story where it's like maybe they're having an affair and he won't tell his wife or some cliche story like that, it's still trash. And so just because it's gay, that doesn't excuse it. So sorry.
No.
And now let's continue talking about the hilariousness of Gino, because he really,
Gino.
well, it's like, it's funny. Like, I almost wish I could watch it like just to laugh at him, because he's just so hilariously bad. Or maybe it's just the writing. I don't know.
I don't know either.
Because I mean, they did write every character to be like a
whiny bitch.
Yeah, a whiny bitch / gross stereotype.
And I just don't understand. I know it's work, right? They have a job. This is a job. Maybe they don't get a lot of jobs.
Yeah.
And they wanted to work with Ryan Murphy. They wanted to work on American Horror Story because it's like a supernatural / horror type story, which I'm waiting for that. It hasn't happened. A crime story is not a horror story, for the most part. I can't say it every time, but for the most part.
This is American AIDS Story / American Dahmer Story Part 2.
I don't
Junior.
know, but you got to...
Junior.
You've got to make things more...
You've just got to... You've got to make things good.
Don't do stereotypes. I don't like that. Why would you do that to yourselves? You have a political party who wants to get rid of this. No more marriages. No more nothing. And you're making it worse by feeding these weirdos who agree with them and think it's abnormal and want you to go to some kind of what is it? Those anti-gay things where they make you straight by what is it, with the mental thing where they try to change you?
Well, I would really
Pray away the gay.
I would really like to see a whole episode dealing with the backstory of the killer, because we'll talk about him pretty soon. But
we don't have a backstory, just a little bit.
I would just say that, like, I just, if I were gay, I wouldn't want this show to, like,
represent me.
Yeah, like, it's really not good.
And I can't believe they would be. I guess they were, but they could be this stupid about having. But they did do it. They did have a multiple. They were known for it. Everybody knew it. They had these multiple sexual partners. They had these shower places, bathhouses.
Safi, stop talking. Safi, we do not want to hear about your personal experiences.
There's no personal experience.
And you better not put that in your memoir.
Not putting anything in my memoir. But, I mean, anyway, just forget about the AIDS, which they didn't know about yet. This is an interesting time. It just, there's a little rumor, and they got things, there's all kinds of conspiracy stories where somebody's deliberately infected gay people.
Well, that is probably what happened, though.
Please, I don't know. And it could be. We might find out. Well, you'll find out because I'll be dead. But
Safi, this is not an episode of American Horror Story. Get off of it.
It's not.
Safi.
But anyway,
what are you thinking?
I don't know what they're.
We're talking about Gino now,
yeah,
so
Gino. He's just really.
I'm suffocating.
And then he has this massive heart attack. I guess.
Well, or he passed out. I don't know. Like
that
it was
really weird. It wasn't even.
I was like, oh my god!
And he wakes up with a rash.
This is the equivalent of in those not all, some of those like older movies where you'd have a woman and she's like, oh my god, and then she faints. Remember in the old movies when a woman faints and she's like, and she just peacefully faints on the floor, or like in some of those where she gets hysterical and she's like, and then the guy has to slap her. Safi, go ahead and go in.
Okay, I've got to go put the laundry in the dryer.
Yeah, I got to talk about Gino.
I want Marco to keep talking about Gino because he's really he's a standalone character.
He's hilarious.
I don't know.
Like, we could literally just, like, devote a whole video to talking about how hilarious Gino is.
Well, just the whole thing.
Like, a character study.
I really, if I were gay, I would not want to be represented by some of this BS.
No, and I'm trying to think of, like, a better...
horrible stereotyping.
Like, Saving Silverman is better in terms of that.
Stereotypes. I really don't, of anybody.
Well, they can be good if they're just for comedic effect.
Yeah, but this is supposed
but in
to
this
be a
case,
comedy. This is supposed to be a whole American Horror Story. Is the horror that people stereotype so bad that they look ridiculous?
I think the horror is that people would watch this season and then say that it's a masterpiece of drama.
Excuse me.
And suspense.
Suspense.
Yeah.
Suspense. We already know who the killer is.
Okay. Safi's gonna go wash the AIDS out of her clothes. So anyways, Gino, he has this other hilarious sequence where he's in the hospital and he hears about the fire or something. I mean, see, there's a lot of stuff we won't even talk about because it's 2 episodes. So that's 2 episodes worth of material. That's 2 videos worth of material. Excuse me. Well, Gino finds out about there's this gay bar where I can't even remember. Like, I think that was in episode 3, and Gino was questioning the old guy who, he had that drink and he was drugged in the bar. The guy that Ryan Murphy likes to put in every season. And of course, last season he had the cringeworthy Burger King line where he was just like a complete stereotype in that as well. A straight stereotype. And there's this fire in the gay bar. People die and they're injured. They're in the hospital. And so the killer was also there, though. And so Gino thinks, oh, let's go get the killer. He's right here in the hospital. And I gotta say, like, with all the bad stuff that I've said about this show so far this season, the guy who plays the killer is really, really good. And he has a fantastic scene where he's giving blood to the science woman who's studying the AIDS disease or whatever it is. And he's just so creepy and so perfect at this role. And so, like, I gotta say, like, he really is a standout actor this season and in general. I mean, I might even say, and I know that this is blasphemy, but out of American Horror Story seasons 1, 2, and this, I think so far that this guy in season 11 might be my favorite villain of the whole series. He's just perfect, and he's actually entertaining to where I want to watch more of him. Even though he's a killer and he's a bad guy, I wanted to see more of him. And so he's giving blood, and then he's like, oh shit, I should get out of here fast. Someone's going to figure it out. And he starts, he's really, really tall. Safi said, I think maybe in this video, he's like a Frankenstein monster. And he's trying to get away. And Gino is on to him. And then he has police guy come and go after him too. And they split up, which is the stupid horror movie thing to do. And you have this little tiny shrimp in Gino, and he's following around this fucking Frankenstein monster, and he's chasing him, and it's it's so cartoonish because, like, the bad guy, they call him Mr. Whiteley, which It's pretty funny. I'm just, guys, I've talked about my favorite serial killer before. My favorite in terms of researching, Herb Baumeister. This guy looks exactly like Herb Baumeister. And so I'm just going to call this guy Herb. And so I hope you guys don't mind. And Herb is like, he's doing the Scooby-Doo thing where he knows that Gino is following him. So he like circles around him and runs from room to room. And he's like, he's like tricking him. And it's just really hilarious the way that like they're having this chase sequence in a hospital. And keep in mind, it's like in Halloween 2, 1981, where like this hospital is just like empty and there's like no one in there and you can have this full-on chase. And so I thought that was hilarious. And at a certain point, Gino finally catches on to him. And it's just so funny watching him like just try to play this serious scene where, the killer, he's doing such a good job. And then you have this shrimpy, funny guy behind him who just, he comes off as almost like he's trying to get the mailman or something. Like, he's like, hey, mailman, I got a mail for you. Okay, come here, boy. Like, he's like, he sees the mailman and he's like, come on, I need to give you a package. And not my package, I need to give you a package, boy. And the killer's just like casually like fast walking down the hospital. It was really funny. And finally they get into the morgue, which is very convenient. And I thought, this was actually, pretty good ideas. Like, you could have just devoted a whole episode to like the hospital, like a Halloween 2, like they did in Chucky, where that was actually a pretty fun episode of that show. And then the killer, he just easily overpowers Gino, and Gino's like, ah, 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 ah. And then the killer locks him up inside a fucking tomb, and then he's gonna freeze to death, and it's just the funniest thing ever. He's like, help me! He's like, help me! And it's just so fake looking, it's just so funny and phony and bad. And Safi and I both agree that was hilariously bad. So, the other great idea is that they have this big storyline of a blackout happening. And I thought, wow, that was actually a really good idea. It could have been very scary. And there were some scary things that happened. But it really had the potential, like, they could have made that, like, one of the scariest things ever if they had treated it correctly and not fucked it up by doing this, melodramatic gay soap opera where you have, like, a love triangle with these guys and stuff like that, They could have made a really intense episode where they're trying to find the killer and everything, and the killer's killing people, and the taking advantage in the blackout, because he calls the police guy on the phone, and that was a great little scene, very, very creepy. Well, it all culminates in you have these two guys, they're from a gay party, I can't remember, whatever, and they're in Central Park, and they're just there talking about what they're going to do about this sickness, whatever. And then they see the killer, and he's casually, like, lopping off a head off a person's body, and then, like, holding it up like it's a trophy. And then he puts it in a bag, and they follow him. And I thought, uh-oh, this is not going to end well, is it? Or maybe it's going to be like his downfall. I don't know. You never know on American Horror Story, really. So they follow him back to his apartment building. And this, I would say that this is probably one of the best scenes I've ever seen all year. They follow him onto the elevator, and which is already, because they want to see where his room is. And so they're on the elevator with him, and the elevator goes up. Sorry about that. For some reason, my throat's stuffy. then all of a sudden, the elevator blacks out, and the elevator door is locked, and they can't get out. And I thought, like, wow, that is really, really scary. Because he has a very creepy look to him, just like Herb did in real life. And I used to be really, I would have, like, nightmares about, like, him after I would research him. And they're in the elevator with him, and he's like, don't worry, I have matches. And then he takes one out, and you just have this amazing lighting. Safi, did you hear anything I said for the past 10 minutes?
No, I've been inside.
Damn it, Safi, we're so far behind. Like, I can't give these people, like, lectures about AIDS for, like, 20 minutes. Safi.
It hasn't been 20 minutes. It's only had 3 loads.
Safi.
Most of your clothes.
Your mom only has 3 loads. So anyways, then, well, I'll just wait for her to get in the car. Safi, shame on you.
It's nothing but shame. There's nothing but shame in the car.
Yeah, there's shame everywhere. I was talking about they're on the elevator, and they follow the killer back there, and he's, like, lighting these matches, which was very creepy.
Weird.
And,
oh, yeah, I remember that now.
And then he says, you think that this is scary? It's nothing compared to being in a tank in the Vietnam War. And that was really cool because it was almost like being inside of a tank. Like, for some reason, it had this very confined, suffocating look to it, like they were inside of a tank or something. And then he talks about, like, the smell from his groceries, and he says, I like to buy meat that's 2 days past expiration date. There's nothing wrong with it at all, and it's a lot cheaper. And then he's like, no, I'm just kidding, and then he's gonna kill them. And I thought that was like an A+ scene in a bad episode. Safi, what did you think about that? Did you like that?
Well, I just thought, like, why did they get in the elevator with that guy? He looks creepy.
Yeah.
I mean, it isn't his size. He has a creepy face.
Yeah, you'd not want to get in an elevator with him.
No, he looks like a shooter. In fact, he looks like the shooter, I think, who was on top of that building in Texas, the college building, and shot out into the crowd. I think he looks like him, but whatever, he is creepy looking. And I wouldn't have gotten in the elevator. I would have gone, oops, and pretend like I dropped something and just let him go on.
He looks like he kills cats and rapes babies or something. He just looks really creepy.
Really.
And he's just so good at acting, though. So I you know, and it's really a part of that. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, they just did a great job casting him. And it's really. I hope that he's in more shows after this.
Well, he ought to be playing horror characters. Like, he's perfect Frankenstein.
Yeah.
I mean, he wouldn't have to talk, really. He just, his size. He looks like Frankenstein. He's so big.
Especially in the hospital chase where he's just casually fast walking down the hallway.
Yeah.
And he's just like this gigantic person. And he's just, it's like, that's Frankenstein walking down the hallway.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. And it's supposed to be American Horror Story. Maybe that's it. He'll turn into Frankenstein, and then they'll make it into a Frankenstein AIDS story.
Well, I would rate Smoke Signals. I would rate that episode a D-. I would rate Blackout a D. So, instead of F's, they get D's. What would you give them, Safi?
Well,
because you did the Safi thing, and you gave the episodes, like, C's last time.
I'll give the first episode a D.
Really?
The second episode I'll give a C-.
Oh, yeah.
Because of the things that happened. But this that guy who plays Gino, the thing when he was saying shame and all this crap, it was overacting. And he just isn't very good. I'm sorry.
He's really funny, though. He's really funny.
I just don't like it. Even, I don't care what it is, who it is. I don't like stereotypes. I don't like it when they put that into a story. And this isn't just like a little pop-up stereotype. This is like riddled with stereotypes.
Yeah, like you could just go down the line, every single character. And I finally remembered the photographer that I had seen the documentary. It's at Mapplethorpe.
Oh,
that's what he's like.
Oh, okay. Mapplethorpe. Yeah, I remember
Which
him.
they said that was the inspiration, I believe. So.
Oh, yeah. I remember him. And his work was very controversial. And they would not have it posted in some places.
He was evil, too. He was evil.
I don't know anything about him personally, just except that his artwork was very controversial. And, I don't know. It was,
Safi.
It's just, we've talked about this, too, off camera, or whatever you want to call it. But this is a 10-episode season.
Yeah.
We have gone through 4. We know, and if this is if it isn't him, there's either more than one killer, or he's the biggest red herring on the planet, because we already know who the killer is, and I knew it last episode, or maybe the episode, or like a third episode, we have 10.
Wasn't it the first episode where he's at the doctor's office, though?
Yeah, and
so that'd be the first episode.
Something he said, I'm like, oh, that's... And you, when you saw the killer, too, like, they'd show the back of him or something, you could tell he was a big guy. And you look at all these actors, let's say you line them all up, he's like the biggest. And then that guy who was in... The gay guy who was in the... show last year, the young guy, he's very big too.
You know who he could play,
very
Safi?
Tall.
You know who he should play?
Who?
He should play Jason Voorhees.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We think he's misplaced. He ought to really be in a horror, or a real horror show.
And it's a good thing, because he's really good at doing it, so...
Yeah, he is. But we're trying to think, what are they going to do with the next 6?
Well, he's
episodes?
He's just running around casually killing people, so...
And nobody will do anything about it.
It'll probably be like, okay, let's pitch some episodes, Safi.
No, I can't do that.
Let's pitch.
I'm not qualified to do that.
Yeah, but Safi,
I wouldn't know, but 6
people
episodes is a lot.
The people who make these movies and shows aren't qualified anymore, so who cares?
Well, you go ahead.
Okay, so
you have a lot more ideas.
We have an episode where they're at the supermarket with Gino, and Gino's like, "Ooh, look, the fucking what is like gay? What's a gay stereotype for like what gay people like?" Safi,
sushi? I don't know.
God, Safi, that's really weird.
They're in San Francisco, right?
No, they're in New York.
New York. Well, that would be pizza. But I don't know.
Hey, I'm walking here, gay. That's a... okay, so you're in the supermarket. Gino finds a frozen California pizza with chicken stuff. Or, no, it's a vegan pizza. And he's like, ooh, look, it's 50% off. Hee. Oh, I'm going to get some martini mix, too. And then, you see the killer. And he's in the meat section where all the blood is, all the cuts of meat. And we'll talk about meat, too. And there's a guy, and he's standing there, and it's like, And the killer walks up to the guy and stabs him. And then he leaves the supermarket, and Gino is like, oh my God, somebody's getting stabbed, and nobody's doing anything. I'm going to have to do something myself. Shame on you, please.
Yeah, this store is full of shame.
This store carries something I don't like. They should be ashamed of themselves. This is a gay-hating store. And they're shameful. and the killer is shameful too. And then he chases after the killer, and the killer just casually walks out of the store, and then he leaves, and that's the end of the episode, Safi. and then the next episode,
well, they all go like that. They'll get through those 6 episodes really fast.
They're at the laundromat. Gino is washing his thongs that he likes to wear. His pink.
That's right. Somebody was wearing thongs, weren't they?
Oh, I bet you'd know about that, Safi. And then you see the killer, and he's in the bathroom, and he's like, I wonder who I'm gonna kill today. And then he sees a guy like get into the bathroom, and he's like, ugh. And then he closes the bathroom door and kills him. And Gino hears a scream, and he's like, oh no! There's something shameful going on in the laundromat bathroom! Oh no! And then he starts chasing after the killer, and the killer just casually walks out. And he just completely disappears into thin air. And then he walks out of the laundromat, and Gino's like, oh my god! I'm gonna have to write a whole paper about this shit!
Just remember, he is like the editor, I think.
That's the next episode, Safi.
For the...
Boom!
What's the name of the native?
I just won an Emmy, Safi. Suck on that.
Well, and also, when I looked up this research, they talked about this newspaper, and I think it was called The Native.
Well, let's talk about the last thing I'd like to mention is that you remember at the end of the second episode, they had this whole thing where they built up to showing like an array of body parts that were hanging by hooks in an alley.
Right.
And we never even got any follow-up on that at all.
And that's effing inexcusable.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but that really is.
Like, no follow-up at all.
Guys, nothing like Hannibal. I mean, they had these artistic arrangements of bodies and... Oh, God, I remember the one with the stringed instrument. Oh, God. It was a cello maker or something. And, oh, God, it was so gross. But still, they don't even say anything, much less show anything, which is inexcusable.
Yeah.
That was a major thing for the police to find. And
they almost acted like, oh, who cares?
Well,
whatever.
No, they said, the one guy said something, well, no, we don't just have one body, we have a whole
Safi, that was
assortment.
the second episode. That's not the third episode and fourth episode.
Well,
Shame on you.
That was a long time ago, so where's the follow-up for that?
Shame on you, Safi. Shame.
And they would have, because this is TV land, they would have had all the DNA from all of the samples by now.
Safi, the DNA, nobody cares about DNA. The killer can just do whatever he wants.
They wouldn't have known about that then.
They're like, what's a DNA?
No, they wouldn't have, never mind. They wouldn't have known about that then. I got to remember, this is supposed to be the 80s.
And then the
80s.
killer would get on the telephone and be like, good joke's on you, police guy. I don't have any DNA.
I left it in Vietnam.
The other soldiers in the tank took my DNA away from me. That's what he would say. He'd be like, in Vietnam, I learned all sorts of things. I learned about shame, and I learned about how to become a killer. Because that's what happens when you go to Vietnam. And it's like, yeah, it is kind of true. I mean...
No, he said, the government taught me how to be a killer.
It's true.
Or the government taught me how to kill. I taught myself how to find real love or something like that.
Safi, being in the military, especially in Vietnam War, which was a completely unnecessary, pointless endeavor.
I know that. And I knew that then.
Well, that's an automatic red flag, like, for serial killers. Like, basically, every serial killer in existence has a military connection.
Well, I don't know about the Texas Chainsaw guy. Or
who's the Texas Chainsaw
the guy in Indiana that liked to take off skins from everybody.
Safi, that was Ed Gein of Plainview, Wisconsin.
Yeah, but you said that the Texas guy was based on him.
Yeah, he wasn't in Indiana. He might have been in the World War II. I can't remember.
I don't think so.
Or that it doesn't matter. His brother might have, his father might have, and they were both bad, or something happened with that. I don't want to get into that, but obviously Dahmer, he was in the military, and he killed people in the military. So, anyways, do you have anything else to say, Safi?
No, but if you like this broadcast, or whatever you want to call it, broadcast.
Say I heart Gino. Say that.
No.
Say it.
Anyway, please give it a thumbs up and become one of our subscribers so you can add your comments to ours and what you thought about these episodes. And let's be honest, and let's not be mean. Let's just say what we really think about how it could be. Is it as bad as we think? What do you think about it? And what would you do to make it better? Okay? So, goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye.